Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about Pokemon Unite, the longevity of the game, the player retention of the game, and just obviously another one of the issues that I have with the game. Now, look, I inherently make videos to just kind of talk about what I'm feeling, talk about what I'm excited about, what I'm interested in, and so it's never just to dump on the game or just to overly love the game. It's always just like whatever's going on in my head at the time. So right now what I'm feeling is that, I think that the game is in a pretty tough spot because it's just not very interesting. Nothing really changes with the game. We got the new map and that changed for a time. It has a pretty short lease on it for us to like kind of learn the map and understand like the nuance of the meta. We got a recent balance change and that didn't really change it too much, at least not in the solo queue world. And that's always kind of my perspective as like solo queue competitive kind of player, as probably is for most of you. And my overall scope of feeling of the game is that the game is in just this really big lull. Now we're also I think 4 days away from the end of the season, so we're probably going to get like a nice little kind of like kick in the butt resurgence. We're going to get Clefable comes out soon. We're going to get the new start of a ranked season, so we have something to grind for, but ultimately right now in this time period there's not really anything going on. Now that is true, we are in that lull, but there's a bigger issue, and it's definitely something I've talked about before, but something I kind of wanted to reiterate today and then ask for your thoughts. So if you wouldn't mind, drop a like on the video and prepare yourself so you can write a comment in the comments down below. I would definitely appreciate it, and if you're not, consider subscribing. So, all right. What is the problem with Unite? Well, there's lots of problems with Unite, and I could definitely talk about that in general, but when it comes to playing Unite regularly and to retaining players, and especially someone like me who plays the game quite a bit or would like to play the game quite a bit, I think the biggest issue is that there's just really no grind. There's really nothing to get on the game and kind of go earn. There's nothing really to sink a large amount of time into, and ultimately the game kind of exists between the start of the new season and when you hit 1600 Masters. Now, I think that this is pretty well understood for most players. Hitting 1600 Masters for me, I want to say on average probably takes, depending on how much I'm really if I'm feeling really motivated and I play a lot right at the start of the season, it'll probably take me a couple weeks. Maybe that might be on the high side, assuming that I'm playing a decent amount. But let's just go ahead and say a month, right, or something like that. Well, even then, there's just really not much to do on the game outside of that. So unless you're someone that enjoys the game pretty casually, or playing quick play, or plays a lot with friends, someone like me who's a very solo queue, very really solo queue, sometimes I'll play with a duo or a trio just for fun if I have some friends around, but someone like me who's very solo queue focused and wants to play ranked and wants to grind something and earn something, well, there's quite literally nothing to earn. The 1600 sticker is the last thing in there. And an even bigger issue I see with this, and I'm going to kind of lean into this topic as well, is that there's really no improvement being made season over season. I think that what we're kind of seeing is we have this melting pot of a matchmaking, this melting pot of a ranked system where basically anybody can kind of make their way to Masters. Basically, I mean, most people can get it to Masters if you're playing the game, at least on a decent fundamental way. If you're playing the game decent fundamentals, you're gonna make it to Masters. And I won't say that everyone can hit 1600, but it's probably not too hard to hit 1600. I think that's where it takes a little bit more consistency, so that's good. But in your matches, sorry, gotta clear my throat, in your actual matches, if you're 1600, 1800, or 1200, you're all put in the same matchmaking. So the games, you're not really ever feeling or seeing there's improvement in your matches, right? When you play, the skill isn't really going up, so you're not really being challenged outside of carrying really hard. And the overall feel of the game and the community is that everything is just kind of stagnant. So that's both from the perspective of, hey, there's really nothing to grind for, I want to play the game, but there's really nothing to earn, and also from the feeling of the matches where you get into a match and you kind of think well, my teammate, I'm 1600 something, I have 57, 58, 59% win rate, whatever it is, and my teammate's 52% win rate, and they're fresh 1200 Masters. And it's the feeling of progression, of both moving yourself up the ladder and seeing your world ranking climb and seeing how high you can get. Well, for solo queuers, that's really crushed by the flex queue, where there's 5 stacks that just dominate the ladder, so we can't really grind that. but also the feeling of progression in terms of just feeling yourself play against better opponents. You know, one of the best things about ranking systems in competitive gaming is the fact that you are constantly challenged. That is what a ranking system is supposed to be. It's a perpetual skill check, right? Every time you queue up, do you meet the task, right? Do you rise to the top of that lobby and help carry your team and help be a positive force towards winning, or are you on the weaker side? And there's always someone that's on the weaker side, and someone's always someone on the higher side. The problem with Pokemon Unite is that the skill variance is incredibly large. You have players that just are completely missing fundamentals, don't really have game sense, and you know, it just doesn't really give the good players, or even like a pretty good player, the feeling of progression when they get into a match. So, I mean, what can be done, right? I like talking about issues and what I'm thinking and things like that, but I'll always give solutions. I think for this one, I'll keep it pretty short. I definitely think that we need to see change to the rank system, as I've been saying for multiple seasons. Make it a little bit harder in a sense, where it requires a little bit more consistency, requires positive win rates to get outside of ranks like Ultra, at least getting probably Veteran to out of Veteran, or like the high side of Veteran getting into Ultra, you have to have a positive win rate to consistently climb, and then making it into Masters, I would hope that they would tighten up the matchmaking a little bit, so maybe there's like a 300 point gap, not like, I don't know, 500, 600 point gaps where you're playing with just basically anybody who stepped into the rank. But also, if it was harder to get to the rank, then that would be a little bit less of a concern. Ultimately, there just needs to be more progression. That also comes in the form of like a solo duo ladder, so that way teams can have their own leaderboards to grind. I think right now, I've been really, really lazy this season. I'm sitting at like literally just dead even 1600. I was close to 1700 and then I plummeted my rank. But I'm sitting really close to like 1600 even. I'm not even world ranked. And it doesn't even bother me, because I have the sticker, I have pretty much everything you can physically earn, and pushing forward, like tryharding like a bunch of games, like maybe if I just spammed Greninja or like a comfort pick for myself, I could probably climb myself up a little bit. But it doesn't really get me anything, right? There's no progression. The matches aren't going to feel any different. Seeing my world rank go up, a tiny bit whenever I can't catch the 5 stacks isn't really rewarding. And ultimately, I think that this will lead to a bit of player burnout. It has for myself personally. I'd love to know what you think. But I think that it could lead to retention issues, to players realizing that, hey, look, I've been playing this game over a year. There's really nothing here, right? There's nothing really going on. So I'd kind of posted on Twitter, I might bring this up on the screen, that, Unite was feeling boring to me and that I hardly ever play it anymore. And it's true, I really don't play the game nearly as much as I used to. You could pull up my Unite API and just go see the volume of matches. I maybe play like a few games a day, if that. There's some days I just take full days off. I haven't really been streaming lately just because, I don't really want to sit down and play the game for multiple hours in a single sitting. But like I said, I would love to know your thoughts. So friends, let me know what you're thinking, if the game feels the same way for you. Hopefully, someone somewhere can see this and just, realize that we want really good reasons to play. We want to be able to earn things. We want to be able to climb. We want the progression of skill in our matches. So that way it feels like my games are getting harder. I can tell that my enemies and my allies are kind of like on the same page and know what they're doing. And yeah, we just want to feel that progression and that reason to get on and play. So thank you so much for listening. I definitely do appreciate it. Drop a like on the video, subscribe for future Pokemon Unite content. As always, be sure to be kind to one another. Tell someone you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.